I have been here for approximately 4 years after returning from Chicago, Illinois. I originally graduated from Jackson State with my first bachelor's in marketing. My second degree is in operation management, and my final degree is in project management. I'll complete that degree this summer. My past career consists of 8 years of experience who are interested in going to college, attaining their GED, by tutoring them, buying their test materials, and ultimately paying for their first GED exam. Also, I've completed internships with Procter & Gamble as well as the FBI. I'm basically running for office today just to bring about the changes that I feel we should have here in Ward 3. Thank you.
Well, hello, my name is Gwen Wallace Chapman. First of all, I'm a graduate of Jackson State University in psychology and also in criminal justice. Also a candidate of master's degree in working with business administration. I worked with the Mississippi State Hospital for about 5 years, and working in the community not only as a mentor and also as a team, family coming together and bring about a unity of just joy. Last but not least, I would like to say the reason why I'm running for the candidate for Ward 3 is because I've been a community activist for years, and I see cultural and performance arts to bring into the schools so we can bring our history and cultural value. And I would like to say thank you for halfway inviting me. Some members kind of told me about it. This is how we work together. It's wonderful. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you. And vote for Glen Ward Chapman, 27 January.
I would like to thank everyone for coming out today, sharing your time with us. I know you have plenty of things that you could be doing, but my name is Jarvis Williams. I've been a member of this ward for 27 years. My family has been embedded constituents of this ward pretty much most of their lives, and we've grown up in this area, did different activities in this area. I'm a part of Ward 3. Ward 3 is who I am. My family, my friends, a lot of people come in this ward and use the things that we have in this ward, and I think it's time to really just embrace the things that we have in this ward and really take advantage of them. A little bit more about me. I'm a JPS graduate. I'm also a graduate of Mississippi State University. Played football there for 4 years. Once I graduated from there, I became a manager in manufacturing. And so I think that is one quality that I think I have, is leadership, to be able to lead this ward in a different direction. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. First, I want to thank Ms. Tony and the organization for taking the initiative to organize it, to get us an opportunity to speak to our community. It's sad to me to see that some of the media and other places took that initiative, so that we know our ward. Sometimes we are overlooked in a lot of cases. But I am Albert Wilson, and I am a deacon, Sunday school director, as well as the armor bearer at Relevant Empowerment Church. I'm a father to Bryson, Victoria and Brittany Wilson, and a husband to Kim Wilson. But what I did about 20 years ago, because it's sad to me to see our community where it was, I stopped talking about it and did something about it. I established a community center called Genesis and Light Center. And from it grew from a little place right there on at Mary C. Jones to our larger facility, 5,000 square foot facility right on North State Street. But during that time, we developed youth programs, after-school programs, summer program, and drama project for youth. We've got senior program for seniors who come out, and we do different activities with them. As well as we open our facility up for different events for the citizens here at Jackson. And a lot of you have been there for events or have done an event there. And through our community center, it's just a way of empowering and bringing economic development to our community, improvement as well. So really what I'm doing is trying to bring attention to the work that our community is in need of. A lot of time living in the non-profit world, in the regular community, those downtown don't think about us. But with Albert Wilson down there, I guarantee you, we will think about us. And I'm also born right here on Brown Street and grew up in Georgetown.
Amen.
All right, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Can you hear me well? Okay, we're going to start with the first person. We'll start with this thing with Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
What approach do you plan to implement to deter crime in this area? And remember, we have the 60 seconds to answer that question.
Okay, what approach will I do as an individual?
Will you implement to help deter crime in Ward 3?
Okay, right now, if you look at what's going on with the sheriff department, they're really implementing a lot of programs already. So can I, as an individual, do any more than that? I think I can, but what I want to do, first of all, is support the programs that are in place. You heard all, they talked about getting $5 million every other day from the legislature to get more police on the police force. Heard all the things around mentoring. But what I think is really needed for a person like me to do is to make sure those resources, when policemen come to our community, make sure those policemen work at the time clock, work with the constituents of the community.
To answer your question about what can we do to deter crime, you must have a plan when it comes to crime. And for the last 20 or so years, I'm going back to that, and I'll be going back to that on many different occasions. Crime has just continued to get worse. There's an issue that is taking place now that I plan on implementing an ordinance that if you're a known drug dealer or if you're a known prostitute here in this city and have a record for that, then that means that you ought not to be out loitering up and down the streets and standing on the corner. So we're going to eliminate that issue in terms of loitering with prostitutes. At this time, it's my understanding that there's many Caucasian women are coming into our community and not only selling their bodies, but selling AIDS here and around the community. So we got to put a complete stop to that. The other thing that 65 years or older, I want to implement an ordinance and take it to the legislature as a bill that if you commit an act against someone 65 years or older, y'all gonna let us complete it, or we got to, because if you're doing this, then I notice it, but you gotta let me complete it. I mean, y'all gonna let us complete it? A minute is not a lot. Never mind.
Ready for it? All right. Well, to answer your question, currently Ward 3 is home to numerous homeowners, as well as nightclubs, schools. Well, we do have 2 schools here in Ward 3, as well as elementary and high school. In order to combat crime in our city, awareness is very important. We have different measures in place to actually help allow citizens to now report crime. The problem is that a lot of times people are scared to go forth and say, hey, I saw this or I saw that. So if elected, my plan is to simply ensure that our residents know that you can come and talk to us about whatever that's going on so that we can continue to implement awareness events, whether it's rallies, gospel concerts, even any type of events in our community. Our plan is to continue to push those type of events to make sure that residents understand that we are here, we're listening, we're making those proper changes. Thank you.
I guess I'll stand like everyone else. It's like follow the leader. Well, basically here in Ward 3, teaching for so many years and mentoring, counseling, one way I see the need or see a way to deter crime, lower crime. First of all, our people, our children need some jobs. Well, the plans to bring the recreation over here at the Hogan Airport is one way. There's also the classes in terms of stock market where they can invest in terms of how to make money. Also, I'm also looking in the education area for bringing the cultural and also performance art to schools that is in need of it. That way they can learn their history. Also, in dealing with youth.
Combat crime is always start with the youth. That's one way to always combat crime. Educating youth, educating the constituents of his ward about how to prevent crime. But to start from the roots of it, to prevent someone that's younger from becoming a criminal, being influenced by carrying criminals, drug dealers, things of that nature. We need to get these kids more involved in out-of-school programs, performing arts, things of that nature, community services, training, trade training, things like that. Build relationship with law enforcement. Those people are there to help the people of this ward feel safe and be safe by protecting us, being of service to us. Cleaning up the ward. One thing we need to do is clean up the ward and make sure that places that are normally used for drugs and things of that nature can't be used.
As for crime, what my plan is to initiate my Brothers Keeper initiative, which basically comes from the second most important commandment, to love your neighbor as yourself. We have neighbors looking out for neighbors, and make a pact with each other that you're actually going to look after your property and they're going to look after their property. Jarvis mentioned what my plan was paying to youth and doing more with our youth, and establishing my ABC program, a better consequences. For when our kids are kicked out of school, instead of them breaking in and robbing people's houses, they'll come to my center, the churches, and some of the other places where they can still be tutored instead of being at home alone or just out there in the street. But the bottom line issue that's going to solve crime, we got to get economic development going. Ask Madison, Flowood. If we get some economic development going, business growing, our schools improving, crime will increase because we have more resources to put into our police forces in other places.
All right, we'll begin with you with this second question. In Ward 3, like so many other wards, there are a lot of dilapidated housing. What's your plan, your outline, your vision to eradicate this measure?
We got to make the process easier for it to get to. A lot of time when it comes to our dilapidated houses, we got to go through so much legislation to get it done. We got to improve that when we can, the council and the city can get to that house quickly. But a lot of these abandoned houses and buildings are not only the people, the city got a lot of property. And we got to let go of some stuff and sell it to the constituents of our ward. And let them utilize a lot of the buildings and the houses that have been going back to the city, where it don't take 2 years to actually acquire property. So I'm going to try to look at legislation and pass some ordinances where we can quickly acquire those houses and hold the property owner accountable for actually doing it if we have to actually take the house from them, instead of just constantly cutting the yards and cities not getting any money for it. So that's my plan pertaining to it.
The plan for as cleaning up the ward starts with the constituents in the ward, taking pride and taking ownership in their properties. Most people that stay in Ward 3 are those property owners that have abandoned homes, that have abandoned their homes. Most of those people are from Ward 3 or stay within Ward 3. We need to take more ownership, take more pride in what we have in our property. Clean up the area. Create an ordinance also that will force property owners, business owners, homeowners to maintain a certain level of upkeep on their property. Those are their properties. They need to maintain the level of cleanliness that ordinance requires them to have.
Homes is quite simple. As I've stated before, we will implement a beautification process. That process includes cleaning up the abandoned homes so that we can then find out who owns it, whether it's the city, the state, or the own homeowner who may have purchased it to flip it, and when that process didn't go right, just abandoned it. The abandoned homes are a serious problem here. We're finding that more schools are losing students, which are causing some elementary schools to be in danger of closing. My plan is also to contact our different prisons and try to use the inmates to help fix this, because if the inmates are sitting down in the jail not doing anything, let's help them bring pride into their community, not coming out, helping fix these abandoned properties so that when they're out, they can have pride and say, hey, I fixed this one, I fixed this one. And they'll also help them with job skills needed to become productive citizens in our community again. Oh, you're confusing me.
I have a plan for abandoned properties and homes. First of all, I want it to be noted that I visit Gordon Street, the street where the 20 years of the representation has taken place. And I noted that we have 8 abandoned houses on the street in terms of where the representation has taken place. The other thing that I want you to know is that there will be no backlog in Ward 3. If there's some homes that need to be torn down, I think it's a city council person responsibility to stay on the mayor and to stay on this city to make sure that they draw as much attention and go out and tear those houses down in Ward 3, no backlog, or they will be looking at my face each and every day. The other thing is a hefty fine. I think this should be a real law in the state of Mississippi. If you're fined because you have an abandoned house and you're not out there getting that property taken care of, then in terms of receiving a state refund in your taxes, and if you don't pay that fine, we'll take that state refund out of your taxes. I think that is a great idea and the best idea that I can think of.
I guess I got the good fortune of going last, so I can piggyback some of these ideas. But believe it or not, I tore down an abandoned home, and Mr. Wilson's correct. The process is so slow and so bureaucratic, you wouldn't believe. I simply went downtown, said, give me a list of 3 contractors, and tell me how I can go about doing that. First of all, the person wouldn't come out and tell me anything. She said she could not give me that information because it was confidential. I said, I can't list of contractors to be confidential. I felt like the person was totally dismissed me. She didn't care. So I said, how can a guy willing to come in town, spend $3,000 or $4,000 to put down a house, can't get enough attention to get a list? Believe it or not, the young lady at the desk just pulled out a list and gave me a name and telephone number. Clearly, the city is trying to address that problem in terms of process. They know what happens if you get a piece of property. They know it's tough to get rid of an abandoned property because of all the laws. You can come back and pay the taxes and get it done. So what I would do is this. So what I would do is streamline the process, as Mr. Wilson talked about, setting down.
All right, thank you. We'll start on your end as well for this question.
No, first one was the after.
Okay, okay. If elected, what committees do you have an interest in working on this year and why?
Well, it's real simple. Any issues that will address the issues within Ward 3. And the real issues that we must address in Ward 3 is number 1 is economic. There got to be economic development here in Ward 3. We got to have a thoroughfare where we can have restaurants and grocery stores and movie theaters and radio shacks and office depots and Krispy Kreme donuts. We got to make it happen. That's number 1. You bring in jobs when you do that. Number 2, we have a crime problem. We got to get on the police department. We got to get on the sheriff department and say to them that we need our citizens to be served and protected by the police. The same way they issue citations, then we need to make sure that they up and down the road to serve and protect, not just handing out citations. They need to be going by and making sure that Miss Charles or Miss Brown that's sitting on the porch is okay. That's number 2. Crime is a major issue. Number 3 is that we got to pave the streets. I mean, folks are tearing up the cars each and every day. We must bring great attention to Ward 3 in terms of getting the streets repaved and repaired in Ward 3. So those are the committees that I would like to see.
Pam?
Oh, Pam. Okay. I would be interested in every committee that is offered to Ward 3. The reason being is there's a lot of work that needs to be done here in our area. We're not talking about one thing, we're not talking about 2 things. We have a serious problem here. And as a councilwoman, my main goal would be, as Archie said, to bring more businesses to Ward 3, preferably the Livingston Road area. Then, of course, building up Martin Luther King as well as Medgar Evers. I have a vision for Ward 3 that I think everyone would love to see. We would love to see more than one grocery store. We would love to see actually a movie theater on Livingston Road. There's actually a great spot right there. We would love to see more things because I hate driving to Flowood Pearl, Madison, just to enjoy a great quality of life. So by electing me, we'll bring more job training to our homeless as well as our unemployed fathers that are looking for work. We will expand J-Trans so that it can run longer hours, at least to 11:30, so these students can get home from school. Oh, that's my time? Yes. Okay, I was getting in my groove. Cut me off. Sorry. It's okay.
Well, I got to thinking if I get up, they'll kind of cut some of my minutes.
It does.
I don't start until you get in there.
It seems like that now.
All right, basically I'll be compensating, and I'll stand up and review. Elected city council for Ward 3, I would like to get on the committee that would help build and maintain a strong economic foundation for familyhood and for unity. Any committee on that to develop an association in terms of dealing with the finance of family and also dealing with the discipline on how to discipline the children so they can be better citizens. Because there's a lot of parents also don't know what tools to use in terms of discipline because there are educators in the school system that even don't practice the 5 ways you can discipline a child without even having to whoop them. Negative, positive punishment, and negative positive punishment, and reinforcement also ignored. So to update parents on how to discipline their children, to also for the economic growth and family, to help them bring the culture and their excellency of their beautiful quality in terms of their creativity. I would be on that committee, and I would be also developing an association for that committee. That's about it.
If elected, I would love to be on a committee for public safety, also a committee that involves anything dealing with the budget. Those 2 things are the most important to me. Safety in the ward, not only in this ward, but in every other ward that's neighboring us because they have the same issue. Also the budget, making sure that we have someone there who's going to implement a great budget that in turn use all the allocated funds that we have for the city of Jackson towards things that we need, economic growth, street repairs, things of that nature. Also, as far as public safety, taking those men and women that have served their time in prison and just reintroducing them back into the workforce, getting those guys back involved into the workforce because I think it does them a disservice if they committed a non-life-threatening crime and they're, banned away from any type of work. We need to get those people back involved in the community.
I don't know if Jarvis, if you reading my mind or you looking at my notes, but budgeting is what I had in mind also. Because money resolves a handful of a lot of problems, just having money. And a lot of times our ward doesn't get the allocated funding because we don't have nobody in the seat. Our council person is not there. So that's one thing I would like to be able to do with the budgeting to make sure funds that are, the first to know about all the funds being allocated to Jackson and make sure Ward 3 get our piece of it. And you see our ward compared to a lot of other wards, we lacking in a lot of cases. Our streets are the last ones to get paid. And a lot of it because we just don't have representation there to say, hey, Ward 3 needs to get this, or make sure we get that piece. But with Albert Wilson, I'll make sure I'll be in the budgeting department to make sure we know the budget, to make sure we get our part, fair share of the pie.
Yeah. I got a timer here now, so I can do better. I'll make sure we're not bamboozled or hoodwinked, and I want to be on the economic committee to make sure we get answers to the projects. I looked at some of the economic summaries, and I saw some numbers thrown out like $500 and $600 million to repair the streets. Who knows what that number is? Is that a contractor's number? We spend more time window dressing that, and I want to make sure with my background that I dig into that. There may be alternatives to spending that kind of money, and I don't know if that's the case or not. That's the committee I want to be on.
So this next question, I want to go back to the basics because we've heard a lot of overreaching here this afternoon, and we've heard a lot of promises, and I'm of the mindset that perhaps we all don't really know the roles and the responsibility of a city council person, because some things that we talk about does not fall within the realm and responsibility of a city council person. So my question is very basic. What is the role and responsibility of a city council person? Jarvis, you take the first step.
I think the role in, think the role and the responsibility of the city council person, first and foremost, needs to be a positive representation of his ward, the city of Jackson, himself and his family. Those things right there are more important because you have positive representation with someone who communicates, build relationships with others on the city council to have the constituents of this ward best interest in mind. Building this ward with the constituents in mind and hammering down those barriers of communication that have stopped us from getting a lot of these basic needs that we need in this ward done.
Ms. Gibson. Okay. The duty and responsibility of a representative city councilman is, first of all, look at the whole committee as a family. There's the mayor and the council. The duty and responsibility of the one that represents that ward is to be the voice of the people, the pain of the people, the feeling of the people in terms of what is needed to move that direction of that people forward. That duty and responsibility is also share ideas with the other members on the board, working together to come up with a solution on how to make Jackson the capital that it should be, and sharing these ideas and representing in terms of the fund that is really needed to uplift the community or to spend the money that is needed for streets or infrastructure or school. That responsibility, we work together as a family for the betterment and the representation of the people in the board.
Okay, in my opinion, a city councilwoman is a person that will, one, attend our city council meetings, the remaining 59 that's on the calendar for 2015. I just had to throw that out there. Two, I believe that a city councilwoman is also a person, well, the city council job is to also not only help the mayor make the right decisions for the city. In my opinion, we also help create programs in our neighborhoods that can better our neighborhoods. We have a problem. We have youth, we have senior citizens, and we have adults. So there needs to be a city council person that's there to make sure that there are things that can be improved, okay? We're gonna look at the budget. And to answer your question, it's $4.7 million needed to improve our streets right now. So that is what a city council person do. You look at the budget, you find out what is lacking, what is missing. You make sure that all the numbers add up. You make sure that everything is correct. That, in my opinion, is what a city council person does. I know that by nature I am a community activist, so naturally it's, oh, I'm sorry. I was giving my group.
City council person's responsibility is to, when the mayor bring appointments before the council, they vote up and down on it, either to approve his appointments or disapprove it. The other thing that the city council is responsible for is to pass new ordinances here and around the city in terms of laws within the police department, laws in terms of property and that type of thing. The other thing in terms of responsibility of the city council is to actually take complaints from the citizens within their ward. And if it's urgent, you bring it before the council, you discuss it, and you get it on the agenda to maybe change something, or doing something a different way, and all the council person will vote on it. And the big thing is to approve the budget for the year. That is a real big thing. But we need more than that. We need an ambassador for Ward 3, somebody that can work with the other council persons.
Well, that was a very good question, because I think you understand that the mayor's position, the mayor really runs this city. They have different kind of cities in different ways. Sometimes you have an executive and sometimes you have a mayor. The mayor is executive of this city, and the city council folks are persons. We represent our constituents, and we help him run the city in terms of voting up and down his initiative. We also collaborate with our peers to make sure initiatives we would like to have our support if it happens. And as Albert said, we bring things to the table that our constituents want, or we think the city wants. But in all honesty, we really are a team, part of the team. It's very hard sometimes to bring any individual unique things, but you have to work with your peers. And I think that's what this ward is missing. I think this ward is absent because the person who represents this ward doesn't always go for it and represent this ward accordingly, or get the cooperation from the other city council.
Okay, well, the first thing I would be, the city council person is your eyes, ears, and voice for the constituencies of Ward 3. So your concerns are things that I would look after at their ward, also Ward 3 in the council meeting. Also, the council person worked with the mayor in sort of approving or disapproving his vision for the city. We work also with approving the budget, with budget work and budgeting, as well as when it comes to the governing of the money, of the spending, including contracts, city services, and funding pertaining to our city. And as Mr. Archie mentioned, we also work at approving or disapproving ordinances to improve the quality of life of the citizens, not just in Ward 3, the citizens of Jackson as a whole.
Thank you. Just a quick nugget. There are two forms of government, the executive and legislative. The mayor will be the executive, and the council will be the legislative branch. So about 90% of the things that go on with the city has to come through the council. So as a council person, it will be up to you all to vote up or down, yea or nay, to help get those things passed. So it's very important the person in that seat understands their responsibility. My next question leads me to infrastructure. Now, I do understand as a city in a whole, there are 7 wards. And we have to work through public works and the mayor's office to get infrastructure addressed. What particular plan do you have in particular for Ward 3 for getting those concerns addressed? I mean, one street may have a large issue versus another street has a smaller issue. So what plan do you have or would like to implement to help the public works department or let the mayor know that Ward 3 has certain issues regarding infrastructure that we want to get addressed? So is it going to be using ABC or CBD? Just give us an example or two within your 60 seconds. Pam, we'll start with you.
All right, okay, okay, my particular plan, prior to even considering running for office, I've always went down to the Warren Hood building just to find out what is going on, what can we do to help as a young group of people who are trying to help. My particular plan is simple. We have to be able to have open door communication with those people who are trying to bring things to our city, those people who are trying to improve their businesses. Okay, we have to have some type of open door, some type of support system, some type of customer service going on. Okay, my plan is simple. In Ward 3, there are several horrible roads, and I have not driven an SUV, and it's terrible. However, to address those issues, we have to add more contractors. In my opinion, we have to have more contractors so that we don't give one set of people too many projects, which cause them to be overwhelmed and get behind on project deadlines. I'm sorry.
Ms. Chapman.
Well, basically, infrastructure, I will try to develop an association to tear down the houses like that Frank Milton mentality. Henry Kersey gets some workers and build association, we can fill up the potholes. But we have to go through according to the rules and working together to do things in a legal way. So for infrastructure, I'll help develop association and also giving people a job, because I'm going to tell you something. If anybody can fix up a pothole faster, it's a person on drugs. They will do it for $5 and $10 and it's a job. That's their personal habit. So a build association where we can tear down houses, fix the pothole, and go from there to make the community the place that it should be in terms of its beautification and family. Jobs. And more jobs.
Infrastructure, one of the main issues that plague our infrastructure is that for years and years it's been poorly maintained, poorly managed. Our infrastructure needs to have a solid foundation. That starts with the water, sewage, and drainage. We need to push for those funds to have those things put in place first. That way, when we know that we're getting roads built, we're getting them built at the best quality possible. You know, we want a road that's gonna last the time that it says it's gonna last, 10, 20 years or longer. We just don't want to slap down a road and have to take it back up. But when it rains, you know, the foundation is settling and we're, you know, redoing the street. Pushing to get a vote that would allow city workers to have an increase in pay. I think it's all about taking pride in your job. And when you have an incentive to do that, you do your job that much better.
It's gonna be I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's all right. Well, I just finished a project with Genesis and Light Center getting our driveway paved. And it started off as a small project, but it's a lot got to do with contract, when it comes to dealing with contract and getting a job like that done. So it's a lot of work into it. But in listening to, talking with the mayor and some of the other councilman people that's being an ear in the room sometimes, their plan is the council person for that specific ward, they're gonna get to pick and choose wards. So the council person for Ward 3, they're gonna pick some roads to start right here in Ward 3. And if I'm the council person, I want to start with our main roads, Northside Drive, Woodrow Wilson, Bailey Avenue, and make sure we get those roads clear and paved. And then from that point, I'm gonna meet with all our residents, and we're gonna decide which roads we go to next. The worst will be first. So till we get our ward also fixed. But the main thing to make sure we got someone that's there and an advocate that making sure when those that 1% sales tax is being allocated, Ward 3 get their piece.
Okay, infrastructure is something I would try to focus on for sure. And the problem I see in Ward 3 is that it needs to be, and the city, is there needs to be a set of priorities. Just like my young nephew came home the other night, he said he wants to stay green. I guess I just figured out what that means. I guess green is good in terms of behavior. In this case, Greenville roads are safe and they're good. I had no leaks. My problem with this ward, sometimes I see people rip up. We just I had that property to it, and they ripped it up and left me a nice hole and a horse to just watch every day. What I would do is set priorities. Find out a way to get to those priorities. If I had a choice, I would have a SWAT team to deal with the problems of the day so we could stay green.
I think we're gonna have some major issues if we try to find money to deal with infrastructure, especially in Ward 3 and Ward 3 only. Less taxes, more crime, no economic development, abandoned properties in and around Ward 3. I think you got to have a comprehensive plan throughout this city, and I think that you must start with those officials that on the federal level. This is the capital city, the state senators and the state representatives that represent United States, that represent this state and this capital city, ought to have about $200 million. I estimated it would be about $1 billion in order to clean up and get the infrastructure in the street fixed, repaired, repaid, or whatever the case may be. So we start with $200 million from those folks in Washington, D.C., bringing it to this capital city, get $100 million from the state capital, and get $100 million from the county, and get $100 million from the city. You got $500 million, and then you go out and borrow another $500 million. You got $1 billion, and you go out and you get it done and stop talking about it. That's a real plan.
My final question for the afternoon. Being a city council is very relational, and getting things done is all about relationships. When you look at Madison, you look at the development in Madison, and you look at Rankin County, you look at the development in Rankin County, and one tends to wonder, why is Jackson not moving at the pace as these other cities as far as development and businesses growing? Jackson has suffered an image problem for a long time, and one of those image problems include the lack of relationships at the state capitol. How, in your capacity as a city council person, would you work to improve the relationships with our state delegation at the capitol and our delegation on a federal level? Ms. Chapman, we'll begin with you.
That's a great question. In fact, I almost forgot it. Building a relationship, the state capitol and the city council ward. have them to attend legislature sometimes in community meetings where they can actually see and feel and the problem and pain of people who would like the laws changed, and to get the input of people who attend these meetings to see what they can do in terms of help changing some of the laws of legislature. Because it's kind of hard going up to legislature and talking to the senates and representatives and trying to make an issue that's so vitally important. Doing it all by yourself, it seems like all, but it's really not. The legislature bring their families from the babies, and it'd be good we can bring our children and introduce them, and also with the meetings come together and develop a plan on how we can bond the negative, the positive, and the neutral of different types of people. It's a good question.
I think building relationships start with building relationships with your constituents first. Then from there, building relationships with those who have relationships with those in the legislature, their constituents, their church leaders, their friends. Building relationships with those people, getting involved in the community, and building those kind of relationships that will have an impact on things that are needed for this board. Not only that, building relationships with your fellow council members, because like I said previously, Ward 3 is the only ward in the city of Jackson that borders every other ward in the city of Jackson. So the needs of those people in other wards are also the needs that we have here in Ward 3. Build a relationship with them, because the things that they need, we also need the same things.
When it comes to building relationship, I believe you just got to do what you say you're gonna do. If you say you're gonna do it, do. And if you got a job that needs to get done, you accomplish that job. And with me being founding a Genesis in Life and starting a center from nothing, I've built a lot of relationships. Almost everybody in this room know me or know the guy I have a relationship with in some kind of way. And that's something that didn't happen overnight. It took time. And I have built a relationship with those in federal places as well as some of all our state legislators as well. So they know me and know what I've done and what I am doing based on my record itself. So if you do what's supposed to be done, and that thing as relationship, it just takes time and take opportunity. It don't establish today. If you ain't got relationships already, it may take a moment. But I already have a relationship with those who we need to talk with, from the mayor on down and from the mayor on up.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I was thinking about is, this is something that has to be done by the council. One thing is that we have to become an effective council where people can look at us as being a cohesive, visionary group with a plan. I think the mayor set forth. From that, once we behave as though we have that plan, then we have to build a relationship with the state and the governor so that they recognize that they can't abandon Jackson. That's what you feel sometimes, all these different laws on education and things like that. So we have to build that. And we have to build why that's important. And why that's important is this is a state capital. We got 40,000 students here. We got UMC here. So we got something in common. And we also, from that, we got to recognize that we have to work with our legislators and with our senators to say, you cannot abandon Jackson. You need to support the city of Jackson. And walking away from us or working around us is not the way to do that. So you got to continue to build all those bridges and kind of vision and make things happen.
I think that Ward 3 has been crying out for an ambassador for this ward for the last 20 years because it appears that everything has decreased. Now, in terms of, you need good representation from the mayor, state representatives, supervisors, state senators, all that represent Ward 3 come together with a comprehensive plan to take to the legislators where you can show them that you have a plan to get things done in Ward 3. That has been the problem for the last 20 years because Ward 3 have had bad representation, period. It has a friendship representation, but not business representation. And so what I mean to say about that is that you cannot have someone on the council telling another council person that they would slap the Hawaiian punch out of another council person and expect to take that to the state legislature. You can't have someone on the council telling someone that is in the audience, your mama, and then expect to get something done from the other folks that represent this state. It just would not happen. So it's time for Ward 3 to make a decision to bring about that change and make that change, and let's get Ward 3 to moving. Let's move the needle and let's move the bar.
Pam?
Okay, well, if I'm not mistaken, the question was asked about networking. Networking is the strongest point that I have as a young African-American woman. My networking skills has allowed me to meet with some of our state reps and senators in the past. Recently, I attended the Martin Luther King prayer breakfast. I actually went and helped set up for the next day, and I was able to talk to several of our representatives and tell them who I am, what I'm trying to do, and what I'd like to do if elected by having their support. It was great. They responded. All it took was just talking to someone, telling them, hey, I'm here, let's talk, let's work. My networking skills have allowed me to be the young influential of Jackson for 2013-2014. Also landed me in the finals for the Best of Jackson 2015. So I believe that networking is very important, and if we're going to move Ward 3 and the city of Jackson forward, we have to stop worrying about what someone done in the past, think about what's new, and let's get to work. Let's stop dwelling. If God don't remember our past, why are you? Let's go. I'm not sitting right here.
Well, at this time, we're going to wrap it up. We do appreciate each candidate for coming out. Again, we want to remind constituents to vote on Tuesday, February 27th. And this concludes our board. So thank you.
No closing arguments?
You want to do the closing? Not that what you're closing. Oh, no.
Oh, I'm prepared to do our closing.
You want to do it 30-second closing? Who would like it?
So, John.
George.
Closing remarks, leader that's positive, someone that's going to have ideas that are not only impactful, but have that are fruitful, immediate impact on the board. Someone that can go in and build relationships that was previously talked about, and put the best things that we can have in this ward, making efforts a focal point, and just driving home those ideas.
Here is time. We got a very important election that really takes place, and this election really is bigger than all of us up here, because we got a problem going on in our ward, in Jackson as a whole. Just ask Ms. Harry and Ms. Temple, those two people who lost their life over facilities, over youth and crime. And too many of our citizens are losing their lives, losing their property, and this board is going to set the stage for the rest of Jackson. And we can put somebody in place, specifically myself, that can help improve some of the ills that we done had. So let's take our initiative to vote for somebody who got a proven record of bringing about change toward 3, and that's Albert Wilson.
Amen.
Sanderson?
Yes. There's a lot at stake in this election, and the sad news is that only about 1,600 people vote. So if you don't do anything else, I want you to vote for Lawrence Anderson, most importantly, but you need to vote for somebody else. And we should not let 8% of this district influence how people look at us going forward. And I'm here to tell you, I can make a difference because of my work experience and what I know in terms of how to work and what skill sets I bring. And you will not, and you will be proud of me if you elect me, and I'll commit and vow to making a change.
I think I'd step up here for closing. I think that Ward 3 need a real ambassador. Ward 3 need a person that is committed to the test. I think Ward 3 has been left out, locked out of the process. They don't have anyone at the table to make real decisions when it comes to Ward 3, when it comes to crime, when it comes to economic development, when it comes to getting the abandoned homes and houses are torn down, and when it comes to paving and repairing our street. So I make that commitment to you on January the 27th. You go out and vote David L. Archie. You will be voting for a change, and let's stand up for change and let's make it happen. I want to thank all of these candidates for being here, and I want to thank you for providing us this opportunity.
All right. Well, as you all know, I did not graduate from a Jackson Public School. However, does that cause me not to have a chance to be your city councilwoman? On Tuesday, I'm asking that you give me an opportunity so that I can work to help get sidewalks for you, help to get job programs during the summer for the babies, teaching them how to be leaders and entrepreneurs as they grow up. Also for the people that are unemployed, allow me to be your councilwoman so that we can create another room like this and have different recruiters come in and tell you what you need to do to get out there in the community and get a job, keep a job, and be productive in this community. So I'm asking that you elect Pam Peer, the person who's been fighting for you against crime, with crime. The person who done all these candlelight vigils. The person, are you telling me? I'm sorry.
Ms. Chapman?
Okay, I'll be back now. January 27th, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., please go to the ward and vote Gwendolyn Ward Osborne and Chapman for the next city council person. Well, please, my stance is to help build and maintain a strong economic foundation for the purpose of familyhood and unity. Be self-determined, creative, and our responsibility to bring unity. There are the negatives and the positives and neutral. That's what make up an atom. But what make up the people to realize we all falls in one of those categories, and we can work together and make things happen just like an atom. Like that.
Thank you all very much. All the best.